It is a glorious evening. Twilight is upon us. It's that betwixt and between, the sun still setting and the darkness coming. And I'm at an outdoor stadium watching a professional baseball game. About 4 innings in, it happens. One of those loyal, enthusiastic fans, because it usually just starts with one person, has decided it's time to do the wave. The energy in the stadium immediately shifts. It's electric, it's vibrant, it's vital, and there's an anticipation as you can see people on the edges of their seats waiting to participate in something bigger than themselves, to be united around a simple goal for a few moments. This crowd that's filled with its diversities of religious traditions and sexual orientations and races and ethnicities and backgrounds and ages and socioeconomic statuses gathers together to participate in this wave, and then the wave finally reaches me and I jump up and I raise my hands and it hits me. Standing with my arms raised, I wonder, what if there were a Christian community filled with such focus and intensity and vitality and clarity about who it is and its purpose? What if there was this spiritual community that was filled with God's peace and hope and love and inclusion and committed to justice and speaking out and resisting? And what if there was a Christian community following in the way of Jesus, loving one another into wholeness, honest about our brokenness and our complicity and our rough blemishes and our gorgeous beauty? What if such a place existed? And then I realized that I am the only one still standing in my section with tears in my eyes, having been given this vision of who we are to be as a Christian community, having been given this gift of wondering, does such a place actually exist? We, my beloved Lynnhurst Congregational United Church of Christ, are this what-if community. We, like the ancestors, our sisters and brothers who have come before us, are committed to putting our faith into action, are committed to being that justice-seeking community who speaks out against all of the isms of our day. Whether it's white supremacy, Islamophobia, sexism, homophobia, it's the same evil. It just tries to be packaged in a different type of box. We, my beloved community, are that what-if spiritual home. Amen. And as we are on the cusp of our 3rd anniversary together, our 3rd year together, our 2nd anniversary. Isn't that a cool thing, yes? We're going to do a little pausing and reflecting together as we look at what it means to live out this what-if community. Many years ago, as I was beginning my ministry, I met with a group of clergy folks to talk about what excellence looked like in ministry. Met with Reverend Tony Robinson, who travels around the United States, speaking with congregations about how they live healthy, vital, life-giving communities together. And each of the clergy had an opportunity to share a question, and then we would kick it around together. And my question was, what does successful ministry look like? And immediately all the clergy cringed. and gave me pushback about the word success. We can't use the word success. That's a business world. We can't talk about that. I said, okay, let's not get stuck there. How about we use the word, what does faithful ministry look like then? How do we gauge that? How do we have a sense of what that aliveness means? And they still got stuck on that word success, and we never really got anywhere. So I posed a different question, right? We clergy sometimes get a little stuck. So what does a what-if community look like that's faithful? The United Church of Christ has done a study about churches that are thriving. And they have 5 factors that they call vitality. So as we enter into our 3rd year together as congregation and senior minister, we're going to pause and reflect and look at how we're doing living out these 5 factors of vitality. Because this comes down to our core, who we are. How are we doing our mind, bodies, our spirits, and the alignment of those as we listen together who God's calling us to be. And this is most likely the time in the sermon where you say, Pastor Cynthia, what in the world does this have to do with all that's happening out there? So let's name that. All that's happening out there, and this may sound oversimplified, is actually what's happening right here. The condition, it's good to be back with y'all, yes? The conditions of our hearts and our bodies and our spirits, my heart. Am I going to spread the hate? Am I going to spread the love? Not oversimplifying, yes, there's systemic racism. There's all the systemic evils that are out there too, that we're committed to fighting against too. And yet what's happening out there is an indication of what's happening within us. Y'all with me on that? So when we talk about vitality this morning, we're talking about it as a church, yet it's also the state of our very beings, because as you remember last fall when we looked at 12 steps to a compassionate life, we start here and then we go out. Yeah? You still with me? So vitality, what does it mean? Couple of definitions. Vitality, the strength of the congregation's connection to God, one another, and the world. Vitality, the potential of the congregation for accomplishing the real outcome of ministry. Making disciples and changing the world for good. Vitality, the active presence of spirit that empowers us to change the world like we never imagined. Vitality, Micah tells us in the Bible, what does our God require of us, of you, of me, to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with our God? What drew me to you almost 2 years ago was your vision, many different things. The delightful people on the search committee, this place. When I finally got used to the idea of living in the middle of the country instead of on either coast, was your vision statement. Yes. The vision statement and the clarity of who you are, and in that who we are. And in that, it has the 3 pieces. We're loving God, we're loving our neighbor, and we're loving ourselves. Vitality. 5 factors. Churches that have that embody, live out. And this morning we're going to look at 3. And I invite you, and I've talked with CLC and Carmen, our new moderator, our church leadership council, for us to be serious about doing an inward reflection. So as we discuss these 3 this morning and then 2 next week, I invite you to take a look at where are we thriving in vitality and where are we challenged. What is the Spirit asking us to pay attention to? So we ready? Churches that live out vitality have an excitement about the future. Number 1, there is an excitement about the future here. It's what Miss Nicole talked about. Is there an excitement about the future here? a willingness and practice to look forward in our mutual ministry together rather than looking backwards. Yes, it's important for us to honor our 106 years together, giving thanks for our spiritual ancestors, and practicing that openness to unfolding in this time and this place. If y'all take a moment and look behind you, those beautiful white air conditioning units, we chuckle, yes? That's excitement about our future. I know it took 15 years, yes? Yes? That's us saying we're going to be here. We're going to be comfortable, maybe, at least temperature-wise. And we're going to invest in this place and these people. I appreciate the mission board and Diaconate saying, yes, let's have some backpacks here. Let's be serious about engaging in the community around us. Let's invest in that future as well. So, how are we doing? There's an excitement about the future here. The second piece of vitality, the congregation is always ready to try something new. Okay, did y'all get stuck on the always? Let's tweak that a bit. Usually, can we do that one? Yes? And let's be very clear. This is not about us trying something new because it's the newest fad or it's the newest shiny thing in worship that we're going to follow. We're not about that, yes? Being congregationalists mean we lean into our history, that deep, rich tradition of congregations coming together and discerning together where the Spirit is leading us. That's the new that we're willing to try. Being a congregation that is willing to try something new means that we cultivate a spirit of experimentation, that there's a holy curiosity, there's a nimbleness in our life together. And when we hit up against that, might I say, fear or that resistance to trying something new, we are a people who are willing to say, oh, I'm experiencing some discomfort here. I'm hitting up against an old message about the way I thought church was supposed to be, and now it looks different. So we're willing to dive deeper into that invitation to transformation that Jesus our Christ brings us, or mystery, or however that you're naming that today. You all actually do new really well. And I mean that in all seriousness. This congregation was serious in discerning that we needed to move from a youth director position to a director of faith formation. That God was leading us into a deeper way of understanding how we would engage our faith formation, our spiritual journeys with one another. The mission ministry team, being clear about striving for equity, is another way that we are continuing to try new things. The many folks who come forward to light candles at the beginning and of worship or during prayers, something new. We're creating that sense of nimbleness. And then the third piece of vitality. This place seeks out and uses the gifts of members of all ages. Inherent in that is that each of us have been God-given unique gifts. Who's the ballet woman who talks about if we don't share that gift, then it's lost forever? Not to give you all any pressure or anything like that. It'll come to me. Not her, but isn't she fantastic as well? Yes. That each of us has been God-given gifts. Before I left for vacation, we talked about King Solomon. King Solomon, who in a dream, God shows up and says, so what do you need to lead all the people? And instead of asking for riches or more land or more wives, that would come later. He asks for a listening heart. He realized he needed that gift of discernment. Listening heart, our Jewish sisters and brothers know the heart was the core of mind, body, spirit. And when it's connected, when it's in alignment, it leads to faithful ministry, faithful gifts being shared. I noticed it when Carmen, our moderator, was inviting folks to participate in ministry teams. I imagine it has happened before, and yet I appreciated Carmen's intentionality rather than saying, hey, we're filling a bunch of committees. It was, let me hear more about your gifts. Where are you feeling God calling you to serve? And that's a different shift in how we understand what we're bringing forth to one another. And yet it's the ending part of that sentence that makes me wonder. This place seeks out and uses the gifts of members of all ages. How are we doing with our kids and our youth? And the wisdom and the curiosity that they bring. Nicole and I are committed, along with the Christian Education Ministry team, to lingering with our kids when they come up front, to hearing their stories and their questions. A couple weeks ago, we got to hear about the joy of a hot tub and a pool at a hotel and turning on a button to have control of that, yes? Or that when our children do their cooing and their talking in worship, that's part of us saying as a community, you are welcome here. So how are we doing with these first three? There's excitement about the future here. This congregation is always ready to try something new. Usually willing to try something new. This place seeks out and uses gifts of members of all ages. I hope that you will pray and reflect on those to see where we're challenged, where we're striving in that, where we're thriving, and that you would let me know, our church leadership council know, or be in discussion, because it matters. I realize with all that happening in the world, it matters what we're creating here together. May we continue to be a people. Because what this really is about, and I'll wrap this up with this. It's what Mary Oliver nudges us towards, doesn't it? You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. And to allow yourself to be part of the family of things. That's what we're creating here together, yes? So may we continue to be a congregation that thrives and that is vital, one with another here and beyond these walls. Amen.